Welcome back, accounting students. This is Mrs. Bloomquist, and we are looking at our final section in Chapter 7. Remember, Chapter 7 is focusing on financial statements for a proprietorship, and so we just in the last lesson prepared the income statement to let us know how much money is moving in and out of the business. We're looking at the income, and ultimately we were calculating to find out if we had a net loss for the time period, or if we were looking at money coming into our business where we actually had net income. So we completed that income statement. The second section here is where we're actually going to prepare the balance sheet. And the balance sheet, again, is something that we want to focus on that compares or presents information as of a specific date, okay? And it's indicating the financial health of the business or the financial condition of the business where we have that balance sheet, okay? So the learning objective for today is for us to prepare that balance sheet for a service-based organization that was a proprietorship. So remember that we already completed our worksheet in Chapter 6 that has all of the information we need to create the balance sheet. We are particularly caring about the who and the what and the when, and that we're looking at the financial condition of our business at a specific period of time. So once we get going on preparing this balance sheet, we already have all the information we need to complete it. We're going to just be focusing on how this information is organized. So first of all, again, reminder, information that we need for the balance sheet, it comes straight off that worksheet, and we already did all of the worksheet. So here it is. We have our balance sheet information, and remember it was at the top of our worksheet where we looked at our accounts that we really were characterizing as either assets or liabilities. We also then have the special accounts where we're looking at owner's equity. And if we remember that our formula for the accounting equation, the assets and liabilities and owner's equity all come back into play here. So account titles come straight off our worksheet, and then our account balances come right out of the debit and credit columns on that worksheet for the balance sheet. So our heading for the balance sheet, again, you want to make sure you're always heading your reports correctly. Delgado Web Services, this is the balance sheet, and this is reporting information as of January 31st, 2000 and whatever. Okay, so we're going to start out by looking at the asset and liability sections on the balance sheet. And what you should notice is that over on the left, because that is the left side of the accounting equation, we have our assets. So we need to put in a title for all of our accounts. We're going to go ahead and list all of our account titles and the asset amounts. Then we're going to go ahead and switch over to the right side of the accounting equation where we have our liabilities and indicate that we have two liability accounts, two account payables accounts, and those total $225. Now, there is some report configuration that we need to make sure we pay attention to here. This is not just Mrs. Bloomquist gets crazy about the details. This is specific report requirements that in order to make sure any single person looking at this balance sheet understands what information is being reported. So where it's talking about making sure you have a single rule and making sure then that you total things up, you want to definitely make sure that you're following those rules. The last thing that we need to go ahead and represent on our balance sheet then would be our owner's equity. So right underneath liabilities, because liabilities and owner's equity both belong on the right side of the accounting equation, we're going to go ahead and indicate the Michael Delgado capital, and we're going to then add the capital amount to the liability amount to get owner's equity. Notice that when we totaled our assets, we did that single rule under the total of the assets, the single rule above the total, and then we did the double rule under, both the assets and the total liabilities. Also, please notice that the two sides of the accounting equation or the two sides of the balance sheet are in balance. Okay, you always have to make sure that your reports are in balance. There are two sides to the accounting equation and they must be in balance. So our assets total $4,237 and our liabilities plus owner's equity are $4,237. Now, again, those single rules and double rules make it so that any single person looking at this balance sheet knows where the totals are, where the information starts and stops, and it is good practice. As we look at the detail reported for owner's equity on the balance sheet, you can see that we've got a beginning capital amount, and we're going to go ahead and list the net income that came into the business. We're going to subtract out the amount of money that was drawn or from that draw capital account. And then we have a total amount of owner's equity that we are reporting, the $2,000 plus the $2,012 that came in for a lump sum total of $4,237. This is why we have those two capital accounts, so that we can report money in and money out of our capital for our owner's equity. Okay, we have single rules under our totals where we're totaling information, and then again, make sure we remember that we double rule after we have completed our calculations. All right, so 4 sections on the balance sheet, and for those of you playing along at home, we also want to remember to start at the very top of the page as we start to think about the 4 sections. So, heading, which includes the name of the business, the time period, what report I'm looking at, and then we would be looking at assets, liabilities, and owner's equity, because this is the accounting equation. All right, so the formula for calculating current capital. We're going to look at the capital account balance plus any income minus any money that came out on a draw, and that equals current capital. That looks like that's the end. So from here, you're going to want to go fill out the form and complete those answers. Then the next step would be to head right on out to Applia and do the work together and on your own, and then move forward into the application problem for 7-2. Good luck.